Back in 2024, I decided that I wanted to build a Pokemon card business because one, I love building businesses, and two, this has been my favorite hobby since I was a little kid. Little did I know that this bull market was going to take off and everything was going to go crazy, but I was able to do pretty well still. I was able to make about $12,000 in the first couple of months, and I want to show you how I did that and kind of explain my thought processes for now and for the future. But first, who am I? Well, my name is Dakota. I'm with Dakota's Collectibles. I started this back in October of 2024. I've been involved in the Pokemon hobby for years. One of my earliest memories of Pokemon was stealing my cousin's Game Boy at a family reunion, I think, or something like that, and getting in a lot of trouble because little 5-6-year-old me didn't realize that with Pokemon, if you save over the main game, you only have one save file. I was used to having multiple save files for different games, and I saved over his progress, which I think was completed. He had beaten the game. I don't know how far in the decks he was, but I got in a ton of trouble. I never saw that Game Boy again, which is fair. He never brought it to another family reunion, and I don't blame him for that. But ever since then, I've been hooked, and I've gone through my ebbs and flows of being involved in the game. Obviously, we all kind of, well, most of us went through that.
I'm too cool for Pokemon. Pokemon's so lame, it's a kid's game, blah, 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 blah.
We all went through that. At least most of us went through that. I definitely did. And I was out of it until I think Gen 4. And Gen 4 is still one of my favorite generations, mainly because it got me back into this hobby. But I've been playing every game since then, and I love it. It's just from the art to the characters to everything. It's so fun. Around the time I was in college, I got really heavy into the TCG. I still love playing it here and there. I don't do it nearly as much now, but back then I would run the Darkrai EX, Dark Patch deck, and the Rayquaza Burn deck that was super gimmicky and unreliable, but super fun. I love those kind of quirky, weird decks. There was a group of us in the college that were really into it, so it was really fun and a great way to kind of build a community and have a good time when we were all stressing out about exams and whatever was going on at the time, because college is a weird time in life. A few months ago, my friends started to open packs again because they had found 151 and loved it because it was the original Pokemon that we had all grown up with. I've never been a big Gen 1 person, but I really enjoyed opening them because I realized, holy crap, there are incredible arts in these cards now. Like back in the day, if you got a full RDX, it was the greatest thing you'd ever seen. But now it's like illustration rares, special illustration rares, all these insane, beautiful cards that have come out. It blew my mind. I didn't know what it was because I'd been outside of the trading card scene for so long and only been playing the video game. So that reignited a passion, and now I'm an adult with a little bit of a disposable income. So I went ham. I got a bunch of 151 when it was still pretty readily available, opened a bunch, and had some really cool cards that I pulled. I still have a couple of them in my collection, but I had a lot of cards that I didn't care about as much. Like, you know, oh, here's a Mr. Mime illustration rare. I'm not a big Mr. Mime fan. Well, I guess this is just gonna go in a binder because it looks cool and I don't wanna just kind of put it in bulk stuff. Around that time, I realized, you know what? I could just kind of flip all this stuff on TCGPlayer that I don't want and just kind of move off of some of that stuff, and did so, you know? And I did that for a couple of the sets after that. I opened some Twilight Masquerade, Stellar Crown, and then the big boy that kind of started all this crazy bull market stuff, Surging Sparks. I bought a couple booster boxes for like, you know, 120 of Surging Sparks, whatever, you know, the average price was, and got some of my Pokemon Center ETBs. And, you know, I just wanted to open it. I thought it was a cool set. I thought my Lotic specifically was the best card in the set, and I still do. But I wanted to chase that and a couple other cards in there. I opened some, I got some cards that I wanted. I'd been selling a few cards here and there on TCGPlayer and thinking, oh cool, this is, you know, this is a good way of kind of recouping some of the money that I'm spending on all this. And then the boom, the crazy boom happened that we're still in. It was wild because things started just flying off the shelves, and I started realizing that, man, it's hard to get product anymore. My shop was doing exceptionally well. I had started moving off of my old collection stuff, like black and white era stuff that I'd had for a while. I started selling some of that, and it was going quickly. At this point, I'd been kind of kicking around the idea of starting a card business as it was, just because I'm someone that likes building businesses and has the mindset to do so. At this point, I was like, you know what? If there's ever gonna be a better time, I don't know when it'll be, I might as well just go ahead and start this. So at this point, I decided, well, let's go in on it. I got rid of a lot of my old collection stuff, which I kind of didn't care about as much as some of the newer incredible art cards. So I moved off of some black and white era stuff, some of my sealed that I had left over, and just decided, you know what? I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna sell some of this off, and this is gonna be like my nest egg that I'm gonna build this business off of. So the first maybe $1,000 I made from this business was from the collection that I had from the black and white era, plus what I was selling from what I was opening of 151 and Twilight and all that stuff. Hindsight, man, I wish I'd held on to the 151 stuff because, oh boy, it's taken off. It's crazy right now. So as this bull market took off, I realized, okay, there's a lot of opportunities here, but I want to do it in a way that's not scummy. I don't want to just be going and taking all the stuff from Target and Best Buy and just flipping it on eBay. One, it's a little sleazy. Legal, yes. Sleazy, also, yes. And two, it's not sustainable because, again, this market is a bull market. It's a boom. It's not going to stay this way. So I knew I needed to build something that was going to be sustainable so that when the market does dip back down, and it will, I'll be able to survive that and continue to thrive in that so that when the next boom comes, I'll be set up to do extremely well, hopefully. And hopefully also be able to continue giving back to the community and not being a leech on it like, you know, some people are right now. So let's go ahead and talk about what I'm planning for this next few months to year in the business. Up until this point, I've been focusing on getting collections and stuff off of Facebook Marketplace to resell as singles on TCGPlayer for, like, you know, 70% of market usually was my aiming point for pricing. I also bought a lot off of my friends who didn't really have a desire to keep some of the cards. Maybe some of them were like ones that just didn't care about as much and they didn't want to keep. So I would take them and then resell them myself and give them like a, you know, 65, 70% for market. And we were all happy with it. And that worked really well up until this point. And I have done some with graded plays. I've gotten a couple of submissions back from PSA. One was not great. The other one was fine, even though some of the cards I think should have been 10s, but they had changed the 60-40 centering rule to 55-45 while it was in their hands. So they seem to have graded it on the 55-45, which is a whole different story because that's kind of weird. And there's some weird stuff happening with that, but I'm not gonna go into that right now. Maybe that'll be another video too. But for now, graded plays are doing okay, but we're gonna continue to work on those. The first thing to do is just continue doing what I'm doing. I feel like I'm doing pretty well with it. I've got a lot of good feedback on TCGPlayer, a lot of good feedback on eBay, which is incredibly important to me because I want people to know that I'm a trustworthy seller, that they can rely on the fact that when they order with me, they're gonna get what they want. They're gonna get it in a good condition and well packaged and all of that. They're gonna have a good experience. Eventually that'll transition into my own website once I get that built and build that up, because TCGPlayer and eBay take a lot of fees, and they should. They're a third-party marketplace that have already done the work to build up the market, but I want to be able to make that fee. I don't want to be paying 13% for an eBay fee. I want to be paying a 2.5% for a transaction fee on Wix or Shopify. And once I do that, I'll also be able to sell sealed product, because right now, with it being such a low margin, high quantity business, you're not making a lot of money off of sealed product as it is. And when you're paying 13% eBay fees, you're basically making nothing or barely anything. So once I'm on my own website, I'll be able to do that profitably and hopefully keep the price where it's also beneficial for you, the customer, to buy from me, because you're not paying crazy prices on it, even though everything right now is kind of a crazy price. But to get to that point, I need to build up my business and build up, you know, a community around it that trusts it and buys from it. And to do that, I also need to do something that I'm doing right now, and that's make content. If you're a small business and you haven't gotten into making content yet, I implore you to do so. It's going to be really helpful. And this is coming from someone that has been procrastinating on this for months because he's a perfectionist and he doesn't know when to just know that enough is enough and to just let it not be perfect. Let your content not be perfect. That's okay. When you're starting off, it shouldn't be perfect. I'm a videographer full time. I know this, but it's also really hard to kind of overcome that step. So just make content, put it out there, try to be conversational and try to build a community around it. Because again, this is a hobby that community is incredibly important in. So for me, If this doesn't lead to sales, that's fine. If it leads to friendships and community, that's what I want. That's the goal, really. It's not just a sales avenue, it's a community avenue. We all love this hobby, and it'd be cool to have a community of people around it. So that's kind of the goal, but also it is a great opportunity to build your client base. When people see your face, they know that they can trust you because you're putting yourself out there. And if you continue to put yourself out there in a way that is honest and transparent, it's going to be helpful. Look at, Pokeani, Pokebribe, obviously. There's a few people out there that have been doing this and showing this transparency that is really important to their business and really gonna help them grow. And hopefully, for you and me, that'll also be a way to grow our businesses. So growing businesses, growing communities, both really good things and both avenues that content creation builds. The second thing will be continuing to flip cards, to flip graded cards specifically. I will always have orders in with PSA, but PSA is kind of backlog right now, it seems. So it's taking time to get things back. As of February 17th or whatever it is today, PSA is taking a while to get cards back. So I am going to be sending some stuff out to Tag. I know there's a lot of hype around Tag. I hope they do well, but I'm hesitant still, but I'm gonna send some cards out, especially ones that I think are really, really high line ones. I'll also be sending some stuff out to Beckett because the top of the top cards that I get, I'd love to get black labels in. Those are the ones that have the best premium on them. So for my business, I want to try to get those, even though that is a very tall task. Eventually I'll get into sealed a lot more. I've done some here and there, but with using eBay and TCGPlayer as my primary sources of sales, it is so difficult to make profit. So for now, the focus stays on singles, on graded plays, and continuing to build that up while focusing on actually making content and making some good content. Hopefully it'll be a lot about building a shop and my process, but it'll also be some market stuff on what I think is undervalued in the market, what I think may be overvalued in the market, and kind of reviewing how the current atmosphere around the hobby is, just to help you be aware of what you should be looking out for, maybe what you should be hesitant of, a little variety around that, but it'll all be mainly focused around business. But I'm also weird, so it may be also some random stuff in there, who knows? But hopefully you'll enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's anything that you would like to know more about from the business side, especially if you haven't started or are just starting. Feel free to leave in the comments any questions you have. I will either answer them there, I might make more videos about them. I'll do my best to answer what I can. I'm still learning a lot of things, I'm still growing, so even some of the stuff I've said in here may change eventually, but for now, this is my process and approach. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe, like, comment, all the fun stuff. Hopefully the algorithm will notice us and we'll be able to build out a little community here because, again, that's the primary goal of what I'm doing this for. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.